So even as you're talking to different authors, and different peoples that help authors like myself, we all end up being niched in areas that we write in, or areas that
That's what I've read. Let me ask you this. What about, I've actually heard a few authors talking about that their books are in different languages. I want to ask you about that today, because as you know, now, and because most of the clientele I'm even running across, I'm pretty global now, as opposed to just being here within the US. I've got people now that I talk with who are, from Australia, China, Japan, Africa. So I just thought I would ask that question.
Well,
there may be a few
yes,
probably would ask.
And keep in mind that, and I don't have the stats right here, but I mean, English is a language that is spoken in other countries. So, but again, it all goes back to, what are your goals? Who are your audience? And is that something that is going to be applicable? So for example, if you use the Amazon platform, they have, they've got Amazon.com, but then they have the Amazon for Australia, the Amazon for, so they have those multiples, so that when you're pricing your books and you're deciding where you want to have those distributed. And it's the same thing when you go to other third-party platforms. And if you decide to distribute your book outside just that local space, and there's extra cost in that, it gets out further. But it doesn't, nobody needs to feel like, oh my goodness, I need to have my book in multiple languages, unless someone is a native of a certain culture and they want to be able to do it in both. Some people that are writers, but they want to team with somebody that wants some help. Let's not make it sound glamorous. The reality is that writing a book is a lot of work. And there is a learning curve if you're brand new, and there are lots of mistakes that you can make, even on the tiniest little things that slow you down, even just like with book cover design. A lot of people make the mistake of just saying, oh, I'm going to go to a third-party place, and I'm not going to mention any, but a third party said, oh, I could go ahead and just create my own book cover and I'm good to go. And it's like, well, no, because some of those may be designed for digital, and print is a whole nother animal. And so when you're dealing with issues in print, these are all these little complexities that for somebody like me, who takes you from manuscript all the way to the end, has to have an understanding. Now, back to answer your question. So who's going to be the person that says, I'd like to have a conversation with Melissa to see if she's somebody I could work with. And typically, I'm working with people that are either business owners or professionals that want to share a story. I've also worked with some people that are near retirement and they have their stories to share too. So, but just anyone that is looking for a partner to work with, to be able to create a manuscript and to be able to take that all the way through publication, and will kindly toe the line with them to make sure that they stay on task. Wonderful. I think that's some of the challenges too, that people that want to try to write a book on their own, and I hear this very often, there's been there have been occasions where I've worked with authors and they say, I couldn't have done this without your help. I needed somebody to say, okay, next week, I need you to have thus and so done, or they get a phone call from me or a text from me. Hi, did you finish your review or whatever? And isn't that true of anything? An exercise program, the way we change eating. It's always nice to be able to have a partner to work with to accomplish that.
True, but let me ask you, Melissa, how long would you say how long would it typically take? If you say, if somebody were to ask you, say, Melissa, how long do you think it'll take me to write this book? About how long would you say? If it's not let's say if it's not a long book, but maybe, I don't know, maybe a sequence or something, but I know you could give different responses to different individuals, but an average, what would you say the average would be? Because if somebody were to ask, how long? I know they're going to ask that. How long do you think it would take?
Typically what you're looking at is 6 to 8 months if you don't want to really push it. I've seen some platforms that provide support to people and they've pushed it out to 10 months. And the reason they've done
Mhm.
that has to do more with the on-demand process, and that's going to change, hopefully. But because of COVID and so forth, it broadened the time out that you're able to order your books and get things back and so
Mhm.
forth. I won't get into all of that.
Mhm.
But to
Uh,
specifically answer your question, if you're taking an average sized book, even up to 200 pages, if you stick on a very rigid schedule, to feel really comfortable and not rushed, you can give yourself 8 months. And that's from inception to publication. And
okay.
some people may need to take longer. If you've got a very demanding career, and even if I'm doing all the heavy lifting, for example,
Mhm.
there's still some upfront work involved for that individual. But at the end of the day, if you're working with a partner and if you're having them ghostwrite it for you, or writing as a partnership, and then I'm doing more of the writing than there's going to be times that I'm doing the work and you're not going to be involved.
Mhm.
But so much of it just depends on the type of message that you're going to be doing. If you're going to have interviews involved with other people, if you're going to need research needed. So for example, you said, Melissa, I need to have some research yet, and that's going to add some more hours.
Okay.
And I'm a huge believer in having this be a positive experience for people, so that it's like, oh my gosh, this is really stressing me out. No, we don't need that. We can work out a schedule that works. Well, and keep in mind, as I put that number there, that's from our current first conversation to getting things started, all the way to pushing the button that says publication.
Okay.
Now, I have seen books out there that said, here, write and publish a book in 30 days.
Yes, I've seen that too.
Okay, and that, if you can do that, go for it. Always had to be very sensitive to details and things like that. And even as a
Mhm.
writer all these years, when you hurry and push and rush through something, there's always a possibility of a mistake.
Mhm.
And that's just the way it is. But that's just my personal philosophy. If I was to have somebody come to me and say, Melissa, I need you to work with me and get this book done in 30 days, that's just not a project that I would
Wow.
probably choose to do, because there have been occasions where I've had to be under a real pressure to get things done,
Mhm.
and it's stressful, and I'm putting in 10 and 12-hour days. I did that back when I was 25. I don't want to do that now in my professional work with my business. So spread it out a little bit so that it can be a good experience, positive experience. And quite frankly, Marlene, 9 times out of 10, nobody is needing to get a book done in 30 days or 60 days or whatever.
Yes.
It
Yes.
could theoretically be done. And I applaud anyone that goes that program and they want to do that, fine.
Yes.
But for most of the time, people writing books don't have those kind of deadlines.